Hello everybody, my name is Stephanie and today we will be discussing the basics of editing photos in Adobe Lightroom. I am currently using Lightroom 4, but there are other updated versions that are currently available. So one of the hardest things to do is when you take a photo, knowing what to do with it and how to get started editing it. There are a lot of things that you can do in Lightroom, and knowing how to use the different tools and where they are located can be key in the success of making your photo come out the way you would like it to. I should note that the best results for photo editing is to use photos that are taken in a RAW format, RAW. This setting can be applied in your camera, a DSLR camera, and it allows for more detail to be pulled from the photo when you are editing. JPEG files also work, but sometimes it is best to be able to pull more details, such as when something is overexposed and you want to be able to get some of those shadows back in. So, I'm going to go over the basics of photo editing in Lightroom, including how to import a photo, going through the panels that you see over here and around here, doing some basic adjustments including cropping and straightening, doing some selective adjustments, showing you some sharpening tools, using a few of the filters that Lightroom has built in, and then exporting your photo so that you can have maximum enjoyment of something that you have miraculously created. So first, you can import a photo. So what you do is you do File, Import Photos and Video. And you can select any of these photos that you currently have. You would select a photo, you would click it, and then you can choose where exactly you want to save it. So you click here, Other Destination, and then you can choose your file and click Import. This is the library panel, which shows you all of the photos that you have here. You can change the size of the thumbnails, you can zoom in, things like that. The panel that I find the most useful is the development panel, and that's because you can customize the edits that you want to make on the photo specifically. There are some things here that you can do that are automatic and quick editing tools. I don't like to spend as much time here because I like to be more unique in my photo editing. Now, we will get into the development tool. These panels on the right are different things that you can use to edit photos. So there's the basic one where you can do the color editing. There's the tone curve where you can do editing based on a tone curve rather than levels. There's the HSL color black and white. We can change the colors, the hues, saturation, and luminance. There's the split toning. There's the detail where you can sharpen. I'll show you some more of this later. Noise reduction, which is very helpful in dark photos. Lens correction, which I will explain in a little bit. Some additional effects, such as a vignette effect, and then if you need it, camera calibration. The first thing that I always do when I take a photo is I make sure the photo is straight and cropped how I like it. So when you click lightly, you can actually move the photo to crop it. So I want to make sure that the lines line up and that the photo is straight. That looks about good, and I click Done. The next thing that I do is I usually go and play with these sliders on the right. So you can see also here on the left, you can see the history of what you've done in editing so far. The next thing that I would do is do some selective adjustments. So there are some different selective adjustments that you can make. There's the adjustment brush right here, and here is the graduated filter. Now these can be used differently. I tend to use the brush the most. So one thing that's cool about Lightroom is there's this brush and you can actually paint basically what spots you want to edit. There are all these presets right here for what the brush is can look like. So if you want to do some sharpness, or you want to do some highlights or saturation, you can do it that way. So for example, I would like to make the sky a little bit more blue, maybe change the color a little bit. So I'll click the saturation, and you can leave this on right here, which shows exactly what you've colored, or you can leave it off. Depends what I'm doing. Sometimes I leave it on, sometimes I leave it off. But you can actually see it getting a little bit darker as you go. You can make the size bigger or smaller. You can go here, or you can use your mouse or your trackpad. It's important to note that these levels right here are under the brush tool, not the normal basic editing tool. So when you're changing things here, you want to make sure your dot is selected that you have just edited. You can see it just highlights. Deselect it that way. And to be very intense, you can see exactly what I've highlighted. Something I think is cool about Lightroom is when you're going through editing, you can actually click this button right here, and you can see the before and after view. So you can see that this is how I started with the photo. This is how I'm editing it so far. So the next thing you can do is using this here. And what you do is actually, you start at the top, you bring it down, and you can actually make a little bit of a graduated filter here. Now what that does is it makes the specific part of it darker, lighter. You can see how it's changing a little bit. These are good for skies specifically. So one other thing that we can manually do is go down here and go down to sharpening. When photos are in the camera and you shoot in RAW, they're not automatically sharpened, so you can sharpen it yourself. So one thing you can do is sharpen it like this. You can go extreme, see how it does it. I always go extreme and see what the effects are. That looks pretty cool. Another thing you can do is if you don't want to sharpen the entire thing, you can hold down Option, Masking, and you'll see what I'm doing here is actually what is in white is the only thing being sharpened. So say I didn't want the sky sharpened, you let go of it, and you let go of Option, and there you have it. That's your mask. Say your photo is really fuzzy, you want to do some noise reduction, you can play along with that. If you shoot your photo sometimes very wide, sometimes there's distortion in the corners, so you can enable profile corrections. So what that does is actually elongates your photo, makes it so it's not so pushed in. Sometimes the lens can distort it. This is something I would normally do at the beginning also, just because you can see how it changes the colors. Lightroom does have a couple of presets. You can play along with them over here. You can actually scroll over them to see what they would look like if you were to implement them. They don't have a ton of presets. Actually, FilterGrade will be coming out with several different great Lightroom presets that will be available in 2016. I'm pretty happy with this photo. There might be some other things that I would play around with it, come back to it maybe. You can see all of the history of everything that we've done here. Alright, so looks like I'm done with this photo. So what I want to do is I want to export it so that I can have it, because right now it's in Lightroom. So I want to go File, Export, change the file folder, say Desktop, click Choose, or you can save it in your photos, you can save it wherever you really want to save it. You can change the name. You want to make sure you're saving it in a JPEG format and make sure your quality is good. If you have a watermark you want to add, you can simply add one here. And then you click Export. You'll see it's exporting up here. When it's done, this will go away. It will say Complete right there. And then go to Desktop. Let's find this photo that we just added. And there it is. Right there. Alright, thank you for watching. Please email for any questions, and we look forward to the next video.